stream button, and we're gonna pull up the live streaming, and I'm gonna pull that over to the side, and we're gonna go, okay. How long have I been live? 10 seconds so far. All right, so are we up and kicking? I think we're up and kicking. All righty. Okay, so, there's nobody here yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to start, I'm going to hang around for a bit. One of the, you know what, I should actually go and say in the, Discord that I'm live. Okay, so I've only been here a minute anyway. Wondered, Sometimes my streams pop up in the announcement channel almost immediately, and other times they take several minutes. And I don't know what the reasoning is behind that. But I am live, so I don't fucking care. Anyway, well, let's get all these windows arranged properly. Anyhow, here's one of the things that that has been kind of on my mind lately. I don't know if people are entirely aware of what the situation is with this channel. This is not, strictly speaking, an art education channel. This is a personality channel masquerading as an education channel. And what that basically means is that I'm not here to try and collect a bunch of people to learn to do art. What I'm trying to do is go from making shitty crap art that's kind of like this. I didn't do this, but somebody did. We all know it's crap. I mean, look at it. That's crap. Nobody would try to put that out and go, that's great art. SOS gay. What I want to do is I want to kind of go from shit art over to doing some more reasonable art, something that looks more like something that you might expect in a professional product. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I'm working on a game. Now, I had somebody mention that I seem to be jumping around from subject to subject, and I gave that some thought, and I went, what did I cover? I covered female posture, and I covered the rib cage and proportions, making your characters read as adults rather than children. I covered the nested egg concept of how the body is constructed. I covered the shoulder blades and collarbones. I covered the skull. I covered the hair. And I recently covered the upper arm. And now this coming week, what I'm going to be covering is I'm going to be covering the lower arm and the hand, which looks to me like I'm covering what I need to cover to be able to do what I'm trying to do. So over the coming weeks, now I'm doing the lower arm and the hand this coming Wednesday, and then the Wednesday after that I will do eyes, and the Wednesday after that I'm going to do facial expressions, and then the Wednesday after that I'm going to cover clothes and wrinkles and drapery and how that works. I'm not especially good at any of these things, but what I'm covering through August and into the very beginning of September is the stuff that I need to cover to do the kind of artwork that I need to do for this game that I'm working on, which I want to pull out and kind of show off shortly. Hey, Zeb, how's it going? I do want to kind of pull out this game and show off a little because one of the things that I've been sitting around and thinking about is there are two issues with the game as I'm working on it, and one of them is quality of life. Okay, I mean, you need to have your settings. You need to be able to change volume and whatnot, and you need to be able to mute channels, and you need to have sound effects and all that kind of thing. But more importantly, the game needs to be fun. So I'm going to fire this up. We might get some feedback through the speakers. Yeah, we're getting some thump through the microphone. But you can see here that it just comes up immediately out of the blue. You know, you've immediately got, there's music playing, and you've got a music slider that you can turn the volume down on the music. You can turn it back up. You can turn the music off entirely. And as you can hear, there's sound effects. And when you click the mouse, the little hand grabs. So it does the little groping motion when you click. And it makes a little whip sound effect. I mean, I could just sit and do this all fucking day. I think that's hysterical. That's fun as hell. I don't even need a game. I can just do this. So let me turn the music down a little bit here. There we go. And what we've got over here, I need to draw little images of things that you can click on. And then you've got the little health bar. The health bar goes down as you click on it. And when it gets down to the bottom, then Gura makes a noise. And it gets refreshed with a slightly larger health bar, which you can't really tell right now. But you see up here, we've got the little pantsu counter that counts how many panties you've collected. And it's already gone up to 1 because you've gone through 1 health bar. And this is already a fun game. You could sit here and do this, and it's fun already, as it is. It's just a little Skinner box. It doesn't even have any systems on it. It just has this little counter that goes up. Every time you get down to the bottom of the health bar, the number goes up. Number go up is just like the most basic drive of human beings. Having the number go up is for some reason important to us. And of course I've got damage per second, so you can turn that on, and once you've got damage per second on, you just automatically do damage to Gura, and the health bar goes down all by itself. You don't have to click, but you can. So you've got this combination of the clicker game and the idle game together. And those two things combined, they're fun. And that's a fun thing for people to do. It doesn't really matter what the story is around it. It doesn't really matter what the trappings are. The trappings are just a little bit of extra quality of life. It's like having Gargura. I'm not going to have Gargura in the final game, obviously. And she's not going to be going in the final game because that's like her trademark. I think Hololive would get mad if I actually tried to release the game like this. But the important thing is to have all of these little elements in there, and I'm re-implementing everything from the ground up to make sure that I get the architecture correct. Because I've been watching some of these tutorials that people do about developing games. You're just like looking for little bits and pieces, little tips and tricks. And these people do not know how to organize a project. They don't understand basic things along the lines of putting your effects, music, and voice on different. They don't even seem to understand the idea of putting things on different audio buses so you can control them independently. They don't understand organizing your audio into folders or organizing your graphics so you know what they go to. I've got different folders for the cursor graphics and for the mob graphics and for the UI graphics. And then you've got all of your different scenes in a different folder and all of your scripts in a different folder. People don't organize their shit. And I don't know why they don't organize their shit, but they should organize their shit. And they don't bother to. You know, they just sit there, they do everything quick and dirty, and they're teaching people to do crap stuff. And that's usually why I end up in here teaching particular things, is because everybody else is coming along and they're teaching just garbage. And it's not that I'm great, it's that everybody else is just skipping stuff entirely and they're teaching crap. You get these people that go, here's how to make a volume slider. Well, yeah, but how do you make a mute button? How do you put your volume slider on a config menu so that everything is like compartmentalized so that you have the typical little button that you click and your settings come up and you can set all your settings, and then you close it and your settings are saved. And when you close the game, you come back up and your settings are still saved. I don't have that part implemented yet, but I know how to do it. I just haven't done it yet. And people are not teaching this stuff, and that's what pisses me off. And that's the kind of thing that was pissing me off about just like general art as well, was people were not teaching stuff that seemed important to me, things that I needed to know in order to turn around and do all of this stuff that I need to do for art for my game. And there's all this stuff that I needed to know. Nobody's teaching it. Nobody's talking about it. It's all just like the same boring crap. And nobody's teaching about dynamic poses. Nobody's teaching about how to differentiate men and women in your art. Nobody's teaching about the difference in proportions for different ages, which don't really amount to that much except the length of the arms, as we discovered in previous videos. How to make your characters read as adult rather than as children. And nobody is covering these things. Nobody is talking about them, and that's the upsetting thing. And that's why I'm doing the videos that I'm doing, because I feel like nobody else has them out there, and people need to know this shit. But there's no place for them to find it. There's no place for them to learn it. I will probably organize things better and go back and like revisit all of this when I'm better at the actual art. But it's like, for the moment, I'm just taking the stuff that I need to know and I'm putting it out there and going, hey, I needed to know this. Nobody was teaching it. I had to go learn it myself. Here's what I learned. And it all just kind of fits together. And all I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to finish my fucking game. That's what I care about. What I care about is just finishing my game and getting that out there and getting people to play that, because that's what I want to do. I want to get that game out there and, putting the music together for it and the sound effects and all of the art and all of that stuff. That's just shit I need to do to make that happen. But anyway, we do have a thing we're supposed to be doing today, which is talking about the arms. Let me jack that down a little bit. And when we're talking about the arms, what we're talking about is the structure of the upper arm, and specifically, you've got the tricep and the bicep are visible from out here on the outer surface of the arm. And then there's your elbow. We're only worried about the upper arm today. We're not worried about anything else, so I'm not going to be going into that. But the whole idea today is just to think about the idea that as the forearm comes up, then the bicep has to contract and become larger. Meanwhile, the tricep has to stretch out and become narrower. So as the arm comes up like so, you still get that upward rhythm, but you've got the bicep, and up here you've got your hand. Whereas when the arm is out straight, then the bicep relaxes, the hand is way out here, and now you've got this kind of, that goes the other way, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. And then you've got this kind of cut that comes in on the tricep underneath of that. Wow, there's really not a lot to that. I didn't think this through. But it's just as the arm moves, the bicep contracts as the forearm comes up, and the bicep relaxes as the forearm goes out. So that's the basic thing that I'm looking for in the various sketches I'm doing here today, which are going to be probably pretty crappy. So you've got a reasonably relaxed arm here because it's out down low in this area. And I'm just going to kind of, I don't know, put like a box in her hand or something. Yeah, there we go. She's carrying a box. So she's carrying a box over here, and there's the box. And this arm is down If we draw through, we would find that her arm is under here, and she's probably grabbing up underneath the corner here to support the front of it. Have I drawn this arm long enough? I have not. That needs to be longer. That needs to be longer too. So the hand would actually be farther along here. Probably be holding it more like that. Suddenly I'm way more self-conscious than I usually am. I think it's because Zeb is here. Zeb isn't normally here on stream. And yes, organization is absolutely key. One of the things that people forget about when they are when they're building a piece of software is that you always need to design with the understanding that somebody else is going to need to understand this later on down the line. And in 6 months, you are someone else. It doesn't take that long for any serious developer to figure out. It's really easy to set a project down and come back to it 6 months later. You go, oh, I'll get back to that this weekend. You know, I'll get to that this weekend. But no, you don't get back to it this weekend. You don't get back to it this year. You get back to it in the spring. And then you're like, the fuck was I doing? What the hell was that? What was I thinking? And then on top of that, you go back to it. And when you go back to it over the course of the previous 9 months, if you're a professional developer, as I was for 20-some years, during that 9 months, you were working on a client project or you had a job that you were working on. And when you come back to the project and look at it, you come back and you look at it and you're like, man, I was a fucking idiot last year. Because you're now better at your job. You're better at development. You're better at programming. And because of that, you look at your old code and you go, this is awful. It's the same way with your art. I mean, I look at stuff that I did a couple of weeks ago and I go, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why did I do that? I knew better than that back then. I know I knew better than that back then. Why did I do that? It's like right here. I know that this arm is too short. Why did I draw it too short? I don't know. I fucked up. But it's like one of the most important things. I had a... Zeb was asking about story time. Okay, I'll do a semi-story time thing. There was a time when I was in, I think it was in junior high school. It was like 6th or 7th grade. I had to be 7th grade because I skipped 6th grade. And it wasn't 5th grade because that's when I was in John Merrill's class. And this was with, which class was it? Cafaro. Art Cafaro was my art teacher at the time, and I was trying to draw a picture of Wolverine, you know, because who doesn't love Wolverine? And I was trying to draw him in like this particular pose, where he is like bending over and he's leaned over, and here's like his leg over here, and here he is, he's bent over, and he's got his other leg is back over here, and he's being all wild, and he's got this arm back over here, and this arm is back over here, and his claws are out, and all of that shit. And I'm trying to draw this picture of Wolverine, and I can't get it right. I can't get it to look right at all. And because I can't get it to look right at all, I keep crumpling it up and throwing it away and getting a new piece of paper and starting over. So I keep throwing it out, starting over. And Mr. Cafaro came over and he picked up the various crumpled sheets of paper that I was throwing around all over the place. He said, come here. And he took me up to the front of the room and he took the first piece of paper and he put it down. He had a light table up there, so he turned that on and he put the first piece of paper down. He set it there, and then he took the second piece of paper and he straightened it out and he put it down on top of the first one. And then he took a third piece of paper and then a fourth piece of paper, and he put them on top of each other, and they were all exactly the same. They all had exactly the same problems. They were all fucked up, and they were all fucked up in exactly the same way. And he said, if you don't fix what you're doing wrong, you're just practicing how to keep doing it wrong. If you do that long enough, you'll never be able to stop. You'll teach yourself to do it wrong every single time, and you'll never be able to fix it. Stop doing it over. Figure out what you're doing wrong and fix it. And that's a really, really important lesson. I have still not entirely learned it because I'm a fucking idiot. We're all fucking idiots. I think that's like the most important lesson that anybody can learn is that we are all fucking idiots. Every single person on the planet, we're idiots. We come into this world weak and stupid, and we stay that way until we fix it. Most of us never even bother to fix it. We've got, okay, let's do some basic construction. First of all, we got to do our, basics. There's the anime titties. Anime titties. And that right there is where the arm should come down to, right about there. So I'll sweep up like that. Okay, I've got the elbow in about the right place now. That'll work. What I can do at this point is I can get a new layer. I can set that up to red, and what I can do is I can trace back over this. I can, oh, what the hell happened there? Oh, I've still got it on, yeah. I can trace up over that. Once I've got the basics of that line art there. Here I've got the basics of this line art here. That elbow's in about the right place. Got the curve of a breast, another curve of a breast. Collar, collar. Now let's turn off the old one. Let's take a better look at this. Now we want to thumb up here along the side of the box. It's typical when you're carrying a box that you splay your fingers out somewhat. My video card is working overtime, I can hear it. But there we go. So now she's carrying this box. One of the things about your hand, I know we're covering hands later, but your index finger and your middle finger, okay, they act pretty independently. But your little finger and your ring finger really don't. The tendons that connect to your ring finger are very tightly coupled to the tendons of your middle finger and your little finger. So your ring finger tends to sit either alongside the little finger or it couples up alongside the middle finger. So you'll typically get one of those two arrangements where you've got, you know, the middle finger and the ring finger together, or the little finger and the ring finger together. You very rarely get this actual motion because that's not where your hand naturally wants to go. If you just put your hand up, it'll naturally do one of those two things, and you really have to stretch to get like all of the fingers to come out. And in a relaxed mode, it depends on which tendon's tighter, which tendon's shorter. I said something about that on a I said something about that on somebody's YouTube comments a while back. I've been composing music, so my keyboard is on. Sorry about that. I said something about that in somebody's YouTube comments, in like an art YouTuber's comment section. And a bunch of people were just like, I don't know what any of that means. And it occurred to me that a lot of people just, they don't even know the most basic things about how the human body is constructed. And that's one of the things I started thinking, you know, nobody's really teaching meaningful anatomy on a lot of these YouTube channels. I mean, there are a couple of people that are teaching some good stuff. Stan Prokopenko is a good example. But I don't find it especially I don't find it particularly difficult to go over like how the fingers are connected to one another. There's another thing right there is when you hold something at the corner, it's typical. Let me find some kind of box-shaped thing here. It's typical to put some of your fingers underneath and one up around the side. Okay, so that's kind of what I got here. Is she's got 3 fingers up under the bottom, and she's got 1 finger up over the side, because that kind of cradles that whole corner, so it can't slip off of her hand this way, but she's also supporting the weight of the box. This is all just basic, like, just basic kinesiology, just understanding how the human body works and how people do work with the human body. So here, the bicep is going to be very relaxed. And here, the bicep is going to be somewhat less relaxed. Going to be kind of pulled up there, but the tricep is going to be very relaxed. The arm needs to be narrower here. I fucked that up. I fuck everything up. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is still me not paying attention to my fundamentals. That is still the issue. Still doing that. I need to stop doing that. I need to pay more attention. Pay more attention to those fundamentals. Really gonna get them wired in. Because that's important. You gotta have to start off with. You gotta have your basic layout of the body, and here we have that initial layout where everything goes. And there's one arm, and there's the other arm. And with both arms down like that, tricep is a little bit tense. The bicep is very relaxed. They're both going to be in pretty much that same condition. There's not a whole lot of content here. I really didn't think this through as an assignment. There's just not that much here. I mean, it's just that's it. Is just, you know, there's the arm. Is it bent up or is it straightened out? That's kind of all there is to it. There's not a whole lot to think about. I thought there would be more to think about. I don't know why. You don't even need to consider the brachialis or the coracobrachialis. Neither of those really show up, except in particular abnormal situations, like if you've got a big muscular guy and here's his chest and he's got his arm up like this, then you would be able to see coracobrachialis there as kind of a little sausagey shaped muscle there, and you'd be able to see over here there's the brachialis, and then here we have the big old manly bicep and he's got sticking out there. But that's like the only way you would ever see those two muscles. They're not even necessary to think about most of the time. It's not even something you need to consider. Really been kind of lost lately on doing this channel because I don't feel like I have meaningful, like, advanced stuff to push forward on. And I kind of don't, because what I'm telling people to do, it's like the assignments that I'm giving people, they're not all that useful, really. Especially when you're not drawing like big muscular superheroes, because it's like you look at a woman, even if a woman's wearing like a bikini or something, you know, you don't really see a whole lot of muscular definition. So that's not even important. And if she's wearing clothes, you know, you're going to see even less. You're going to see even less definition on that. It's not going to matter that much. So I've given a really terrible assignment. And it's a good thing that I am doing the assignments myself, because doing the assignments myself means that I see, you know, hey, that was a shitty assignment. I should do a better assignment. I should give people a better series of assignments. You know, one of the things that I just kind of like vaguely covered that one time was the idea of the minimal neck formation. But it's just like right there. You've got that line of the neck, you've got the line of the trapezius muscle, and then you have your clavicle along the side, the other clavicle over here, and it's just that same basic thing. And that's a case of, you know, just knowing what lines to draw and where to draw them. That's a substantial amount of a figure right there, you know? That's actually really helpful to hear. Zeb says that he'd have to go find an anatomy textbook and look at it. And these videos and live streams are useful introductions for it. Different people learn better in different ways. It's like, you know, when Lawrence said that he was not about to read all that, you clown. You know, when he said that about my comment, there are a tremendous number of people that just don't want to open a fucking book. And people my age frequently just like shake their heads and go, oh, that's why you're stupid, because you won't open a book. But you don't have to open a book these days. There's so many other ways to learn. There's so many other places to look. And, you know, I mean, I still don't get people who watch Let's Plays. I don't get it. You know, why do you watch somebody else play a game instead of playing it yourself? That I don't understand. I don't think I'll ever understand that. But, you know, my kids are doing it all the time. My kids are always going, oh yeah, I was watching so-and-so stream something. I don't know why PewDiePie's popular. Why do people like him? I just don't see the appeal. I don't think there's anything wrong with him. I'm not mad at him or anything, but it's like, why do people watch that sort of thing? Why is that a thing that people want to watch? There should, by necessity, you know, there's always like a shortcut, iconic way to do everything. You've got the shortcut, iconic neck right here, okay? So you've got the shortcut, iconic neck right there. And you would actually have, there's a little bit more to it, because these kind of represent the sternocleidomastoideus right in there. And then you've got your chin. And that's where your head ends up being. And then over here, you would have, these are the shoulders. There's got a way to just kind of like mildly extend this. Now, if we were drawing a man, and then what we've got is we've got kind of a curtain right there, because the chest muscle attaches up under the deltoid right here, up under the deltoid muscle. And you can see that right here. Here's the deltoid. The deltoid comes down across it, but it tucks in up underneath of there. And you can see that little cut right there where it goes across the bicep. So the chest muscle goes up underneath the deltoid and connects. And what a lot of people don't realize is, here's your sternum, okay? Your chest muscle is attached at the sternum, and it's attached at the arm. But here in the middle, it just hangs. There's no attachment there. It's not attached in here. You can actually, you can lift it up and let it drop. You can feel that it's not attached to anything. It's just moving around loose. And that's actually important because of how strong it is. Because of the strength of the muscle, it needs a very strong attachment here and a very strong attachment here. But if it was attached to the rib cage in here with any real strength, then when you really exerted it, it would just rip free, because all of this muscle right here contracts and expands. And because all of that muscle contracts and expands, and because your chest is constantly contracting and expanding with your breath, your pectoral muscles kind of have to be unconnected. They have to be disconnected from that rib cage underneath of there, or they can't work effectively. It ends up being too much of an issue. Fun fact, your body will not let you use more than 30% of a muscle's strength on the average. Because if you used much more than that, you could absolutely tear it loose. But you get enough adrenaline in your system, and it'll let you do all kinds of shit. Same with steroids. Put a bunch of steroids in your system, your body will let you use more of your muscle than you're supposed to be using, and that's how you get people in the gym that snap their bicep. Just not fun. That's not something you want to watch. You get to see some really huge guys cry. Let's pull that down and just kind of fix it, and sweeps up there. Here's the deltoid muscle. Here's the chest muscle coming up underneath of that. And there's the bicep coming down off of there. And here I am with my typical awful habit of just sketching right over top of what's already there. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to hide this one. Okay. I'm not even going to bother with color on this one. I'm just going to do this one in black. Just going to go ahead and do that. I've been getting very frustrated with myself lately. And I need to stop that, because when I get frustrated with myself, I have this tendency to just withdraw from everything and just stop whatever I'm doing and go off and go, I'm terrible at everything. And that never gets me much of anywhere. Down around there, there's a deltoid, there's a bicep. And what you're seeing over here, there's no additional muscle on the outside of the arm. That's just the tricep. The tricep is like, when you got the bone right here, if you're looking at the bone from the back, the tricep is connected up here, it's connected over here, and it's connected over here. And those three pieces of muscle all come down, and right in this area, you get kind of this little horseshoe shape. And that's where it all flattens out together into just one tendon right here. And that's just one really big honking tendon. So what you've got back there is you've got this tendon, and that tendon comes back, and then it's got all of the muscles are just attached to it. So you almost get a kind of shelf in a way, and you can kind of see that, and you can see that cut going right across there. And you almost get a shelf there. Bridgman has some really good examples of that in his Constructive Anatomy book. But yeah, that's how that all fits together. So there's no additional muscle down there. All you're seeing is the side of the tricep along that side. Now along in here, you've got the coracobrachialis, but you can't see it because the bicep lies over top of it. At pretty much any angle, the bicep lies over top of the coracobrachialis enough that you just plain can't see it. Same with the brachialis. The brachialis only helps in bending the arm. You can't really tense it, so you can't really see it. I mean, you can feel it if you reach in there. You could feel it kind of, sort of working, but you can't really see it, especially not with your fat content as high as mine is. My body fat is way too high. And I do not drink enough water. And I drink too much coffee. Because, like everybody else on the planet, I am an idiot. And I do dumb shit when I know better. Now, I do. So let's refine these lines a little bit. Let's back that up, and we'll do a more realistic kind of look at that. That relates to a men and women thing too, right there. Is on the neck, a man's trapezius muscles tend to come up higher. They tend to come up higher on the neck, and they tend to come in lower for a woman. If we're looking at this woman straight on, these are the worst breasts I've ever drawn. No, they're not the worst breasts I've ever drawn. Because we've all done these. We've all done those at some point in our lives. Well, every boy has anyway. Ah, ta. There's a reference for you. We want to bring that up, and then we want to have these arms come down. Obviously, they're coming down. Arms tend to go behind the chest. So you can't see the whole arm. They kind of emerge from behind the chest as they come down. And women tend to have like more of a waist. And on top of that, this is about where you get the end of the rib cage. There's the manubrium. There's the sternum. There's the xiphoid process. Here's our little square anime titty thingy. There's another one there. And that gives us right there more of the structure. And that's the bottom of the crotch right there. So that's where that ends up being. And then you got the legs coming down from that. These are some thunder thighs I'm drawing over here. Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's another thing about the rhythm of the arm. The arm tends to emerge from behind the chest, and then it tends to sweep back around toward the leg. So it ends up kind of sort of bring the hands around. That's not much of a pose. That's kind of a boring pose, unless of course you've got well, if you put like a gun belt on her, and you put a gun belt on her, and now she's got a holster hanging over here, and there's a big old gun, and she's got her hand on that. Yeah, that's a better pose right there. I'll give her a holster. This is not a very good picture. You just gotta let your... Let's see. Like some kind of grit and water. That's bad coffee. That is bad coffee. Yeah, my coffee's not like that. I do understand people who prefer tea. I am fond of Earl Grey. I like a very, very strong Earl Grey tea. I like bergamot. Bergamot is a very tasty thing to have in your tea. Okay, so now see, I've just sketched right over top of the whole goddamn thing here, and I have not done a good job. I need to learn how to draw things that end up being usable in the end. And that's a very important way to put it. The human brain doesn't understand a negative. If you tell yourself, oh, I always fuck this up, you're teaching your brain to always fuck it up. So tell yourself that you need to stop doing that. Instead of telling yourself you always do it wrong, tell yourself you need to do it right. Then your brain will go, okay, well, that's the thing. Well, wonderful. Okay. Am I actually getting lines now? God, I'm an idiot. Yeah, that's really what I need to work on is refining sketches. Because it's like I do this very basic sort of sketch, and then I never manage to refine it in any meaningful way. I never make it into anything better. I need to start doing that. I need to start actually refining the sketch so that instead of a crappy sketch, I end up with a good sketch. His breasts need to lie farther down. Breasts fall outward. You can see that on your own chest. If you look, your nipples are not in the middle. They're never in the middle. They're out to the sides. They're out to the sides because they come down at a 45-degree angle. If you start from the breastbone and you go 45 degrees out, that goes straight across the nipple. It's the same way with a woman's breast, it just comes out farther, okay? And because they're sitting out like that, when the woman lies down, they fall out to the sides. When she leans forward, they fall into the center. There's a natural rhythm to the way that happens, and people tend to draw it wrong. I don't know why. A lot of these people I talk to, they're like, yeah, I learned how to draw from watching porn. I'm like, you didn't pay much attention to your fucking porn. I see these poses in porn too, and you know what? They look better than that crap you just drew. Not that I can do better, but at least I know that what I'm looking at here isn't right. I think that's really the first step in being able to do anything right is knowing what wrong looks like. You have to know what wrong looks like so you know what to fix, and then you kind of gradually move into a point where you know what right looks like. And once you know what right looks like, and you know what wrong looks like, and you know how to change wrong and make it into right, eventually. I am not there yet. See, in this particular case, you look at how the neck swings down here into the pit of the neck. And from the pit of the neck, it come out at about a 45-degree angle like so. That is about where the nipple would be. Come out like so. Again, that is about where the nipple would be. But this is YouTube and we can't do nipples. We're not allowed to do nipples here. No nipples. Well, not female presenting nipples anyway. You can't tell what this thing is. I've fucked this up so bad. There's no way you could like, no, that's definitely a woman. Are you sure about that? Prove it. I give this person big moe eyes. And a little smile. And a belly button. Always got to put the belly button. The tummy button's important. You got to have that in there. Okay. This is terrible. What the hell is wrong with me? Why do I do this shit? Why do I put myself through this? Why do I force myself to do this stuff? And it's just not producing the results that I'm after. It never produces the results that I'm after. And it's like, I have an idea of what I want, but I just don't typically know how to make that happen. It's very frustrating. collarbone zones out. Here's the trapezius muscle. Over here we have a shoulder. That shoulder points off like so. And the arm. Bring one over here. That cutting the tricep that we were mentioning earlier. The deltoids are kind of a diamond shape, but they typically kind of get lost down here. Sometimes you get some very seriously evident striations up at the top because the deltoids are made up of multiple muscles put together like so. I don't want to be that detailed on them. As that comes down, I come down to the forearm, which is off to the side. And that sweeps up. There's a deltoid on this side. And this hand, we're going to do more of a sweep forward on this one. But what's our angle like on that? Here is, because of the way he's turning, he's going to be over here like this. It's going to be about the bottom of the rib cage, so the forearm's going to sweep back in right around here. Which means this is where we're going to see the hands start to appear. And that'll be in the knuckles, and there's the rest of that hand. That's not a great hand, but not terrible. Yeah, it's kind of terrible. We'll get that in there. Yeah, that's shooter gameplay, trying to perform the needed mouse motion and aim at the target and all of that. Which is, it's a practice thing, but it's the same thing. It's just like in a shooter, aiming at the target requires you to know what the target looks like. If you don't know what the target looks like, you can't aim at it. You know, there's no point in trying to aim at it. So that'd sweep up, and here would be the back of the head would be about here. This is about where the bottom of the nose would be, right there. As this comes out, where would the ear be? The ear would be higher up. I'm not entirely sure. I am not entirely sure where the ear would be on this. But here's the edge of the jaw. And with the edge of the jaw here, yeah, I was putting the ear way too far back. It would fit right around there. That's about where the ear would go. The nose here needs to turn somewhat. And then this would be around the underside of the eye, right about there. Then you'd have some kind of hair coming off of here. I am a fan of long hair, as you might have figured out. I do rather like long hair. And with the hair, but with the head turning this way, the hair would be sweeping down in this direction. Wouldn't it? The motion, I don't know if I've got the shoulders wide enough here. I'm gonna have, so there'll be additional hair coming down the back there. I want to do some kind of like, we'll bring some of that up over the eye. I'll bring a little lock swooping down like so. Yeah, that's not great, but and that kind of, we'll barrel that around. So it's clear that it's all the mass going in that direction, and I'll erase that little bit in there. That's not terrible. I mean, it is, but it's not real terrible. Here, you'd be able to see the arm coming up here to the. This is not prominent enough. That should be going farther back. God. This is always the kind of thing that I do. I jump directly into trying to do the finished piece, and I don't know how to do the finished piece. I should know better than this. But somehow I don't, and I just try to jump straight to that anyway, and it doesn't work. I don't entirely know how to fix it. There's a bunch of stuff wrong with this. Like a whole bunch of stuff. Part of it is the perspective here. The elbow is way too far in front of the chest, I think. No, it's not that bad. That's not too terrible, I don't think. Although I am not by any stretch of the imagination happy with this. Yeah, the important thing on this arm here is that the bicep is very stretched out. It's the tricep that's contracted. This one has a slightly contracted bicep, and the tricep is relaxed. I'm really not happy with this. I do need to save it for posterity, so I know that, like, I did a bunch of shit and I wasn't happy with it. I don't even know why I bother with this shit sometimes. I really don't. But it is, like, toward the end of the hour anyway. Well, you know. It's like, what time is it? 11:52. Yeah, it's almost midnight. But see, I look at stuff like this and I go, I don't feel like I'm improving at all. And And what I've been kind of thinking about, I've been looking at this and going, I'm not improving because I'm not changing the way I work. I'm trying to continue working the same way. And then I'm being surprised when doing the same thing I've always done gets me the same results I've always gotten. I haven't been improving my methods. I haven't been improving the way that I put this stuff together. I don't thumbnail anything. I don't start with a small sketch and make the sketch larger. I don't start with a low detail sketch and then make it a high detail sketch. I don't really know how to do that. Everybody acts like it's just like a thing you can do. I don't know how. And I've kind of been whinging about that to a couple of online art YouTubers. And I get a lot of likes from their viewers, but I don't get a lot of response from them. I don't know if anybody knows how to teach this. I don't know if it necessarily can be taught. There are things that you can't teach. They just they have to be learned. You know, it's like there's an old thing that physical trainers talk about. Personal trainers talk about you can't teach somebody how to walk. They have to know how to walk so that you can like help them do the things that they're getting wrong. But if you try to think about exactly how you walk, it's so complicated and so difficult, you wouldn't be able to do it. And, you know, that's, yeah, drawing large and scaling down to filter out small imperfections. That's another method. That's what I typically do for like it. Another trick is when you draw the image large and you're making it small, if you blur the image before you make it small, then details that would be hard to maintain in the smaller size will kind of automatically take care of themselves, which is kind of magical when you see that happen. It's like if you take something that's like 256 pixels on a side and you're going to scale it down to 32, blur it first, and you'll be surprised how much of the detail remains in the smaller version when you blur it, as opposed to if you just make it smaller and all of the little stuff just gets pulled out. But you blur it, it makes all of the small stuff a little bit bigger, and then the important stuff ends up being kept. I still don't really know how to produce improvement. And I keep trying to find ways that I can improve my results. And then I don't use them, which doesn't produce any improvement in the results. Or I just don't find anything in certain respects. There are times that I go looking for, there must be an easier way to do this, and the general consensus is, no, there's not an easier way to do this. You have to keep doing it. You have to do like hundreds of these. And that's frustrating. I don't know, I don't know how to improve the rate at which I'm improving. And last week I saw some, you know what it is? Last week I actually did see some improvement in my art. And this week I see that I'm backsliding and still doing like the same old crap that I always do. So it's like, but that's a normal thing. I mean, it's like as you learn stuff, you get kind of this ramp up. And then you ramp down and you plateau for a while. And then that happens again. You get another ramp up and then you plateau for a while. And that just happens over and over again. You go up and then down a little and stay, and up and then down a little and then stay. And that is just, that's how learning works. It's how learning has always worked. And I'm not sure how to improve the results. If I know how to get from point A to point B, I know how to help other people get from point A to point B faster. But if I don't know how to get from point A to point B, I don't know how to get myself there faster. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. Yeah, but it's closing up on midnight, and I need to jump out of here. It's great seeing you guys come and hang out. That's fantastic. I'm glad you guys came in and hung out and like watched me do a terrible job on all this stuff. So that's what I do, is to sit over here and do a terrible job on stream. That's my job. Tomorrow I'll do some more work on improving I got to improve the architecture of these scenes. So the way I've got these things organized, I'm not happy with them. So I need to think about how to organize things better, because I've got references to stuff where the references really don't belong, and I need to do something more scalable. What I have been doing is I have been using Godot has it has this notion of signals, and those signals are well, let me find something that actually has some signals in it. It's like you look on this. We've got the DPS toggle. Okay, when you press that button, then that pulls something out of the health meter, and the health meter is a scene. So when you go into the health meter scene, then you can see that in health display. You get this this additional piece of code, and where all that fits together, we got all this stuff in here. But it's just when the texture button is pressed, all we got to do is remove the damage. The DPS toggle, we have a DPS on equals the state, just based on whether the button is toggled. But I'm really not happy with the DPS toggle here. I'm really not happy with that being in the central mob. I want that to be in the core scene, and not in the central mob scene. It's the same with the little pantsu counter. I don't want that to be in this particular scene. I want that to be up in the core scene, and it looks like it is, but it's not. And similarly, I want to be able to pull the volume sliders. All of these volume sliders can be pulled out and thrown into a dialogue, and they work fine. I'm very happy with that. I am not happy with the kill sound being in with the central mob. That needs to be fixed. I got a lot of stuff in there that I need to fix. I'm just going to go ahead and close on out of that and close on out of this. And I'm going to go ahead and bail on this stream. It has been great having you guys hanging around here once again. And thanks for showing up. And I'll get some new stuff out this Wednesday on forearms and hands. Hands are at least, I mean, you can draw hands for years and never get any better at them. So that should be easy to get some stuff done with. That should be easy to do an assignment on. And then I'm going to have to do eyes and facial expressions. Facial expressions are going to be reasonably okay. I'm all right with those. The eyes, I'm really unhappy with the way I do eyes, but I've been working on that. So we'll talk about those the week after next. And yeah, that's basically it. So I'm going to go ahead and jump out of the stream. And once again, thanks everybody for showing up. Thanks for being here, Zeb. It's always fun having you around. I'll talk to you all later.